Hello, everybody, and welcome to this forum organized by Global Mindset and the Punjab, Haryana, Delhi Chambers of Commerce. My name is Nandu Nandkishore, and I was till recently the executive director on the board of Nestle, responsible for Asia, Africa, and Oceania. I am now retired, but Delhi, Punjab, and Haryana have a special place in my heart. I grew up here, and it's quite possible that we will eventually retire in Chandigarh. So Delhi, Chandigarh, this whole region is very special to us. Today, I'm here to talk to you about some exciting opportunities and challenges in the area of agro-food processing. Let me start first with a global perspective. Today, the population of the world is somewhere around 6.5 billion people. Although birth rates are dropping all over the world, people are living longer, and therefore it is expected that population globally will rise to about 9 to 9.5 billion people in the next 35 years. This immediately implies that food production has to be increased by about 50% between now and the next 35 years. Adding to this challenge is the fact that as people become more affluent in societies around the world, they actually seek to consume more animal protein, more dairy products, more meat products, more chicken. And we know dairy products, animal protein in general, needs a much larger supporting base of vegetation to be able to sustain the animal protein development. So fundamentally, we need to increase, as a society, as humankind, we need to increase food production by 100% between now and the next 35 years. So this is a huge opportunity for us, and therefore fundamentally this industry is in for a period of sustained growth over the next 35 years. Now, the second important trend here is the trend of urbanization. The world over, in the year 2010, there was a very significant milestone that was achieved, because in 2010, for the first time in the history of mankind, 50% of people now live in cities all over the world. So 50% of the world is now urbanized. So from a largely village-dwelling species, we have now become an urban species. This trend, India is no stranger to this trend. I believe the number in India today is more like 30% urban, but this is expected over the next 10 to 15 years to move to 50%. Why are people moving from rural areas to urban areas? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but probably it has to do with economic opportunities. It has to do with the rigid stratifications that exist in societies, in villages, and the land use patterns, and eventually economic incentives, which is why they're moving into cities, and the relative anonymity and prosperity that cities promise, together with better governance methods. So this trend basically means something very significant, because a city does not grow its own food. The only way a city sustains itself is if there's a vast agricultural hinterland that is able to produce food to supply the cities. So both these, the population growth and urbanization, means the processed food industry, the agro-food industry, is in for some boom times. Now there's one third opportunity in the case of India particularly, which is India has, in the period since independence, very successfully focused on food security. And food security has been defined rather narrowly in the context of cereal production, with the results that we are entirely self-sufficient in the manufacture of rice, of wheat, even of milk. But there has been less emphasis placed on manufacture of protein. So a lot of our chickpeas, for instance, are imported from Australia and other sources. So the concept has to evolve from just food security to the concept of nutrient security, with a balance of cereals and protein sources and mineral sources and vegetables to provide really all-round nutrition to people living in villages, but also now increasingly in our urban areas. So huge boom times, huge opportunities for the industry. That's the good news. Now let me come to the challenges. We have 5 or 6 challenges. Yeah, And the challenges are to do with what you need for food production: land, you need water, you need sunlight, you need farmers, you need pollinators, and you need a good environment. So let me talk about each of these 6 challenges in turn. First, land. Land use is a problem because we're not producing any more of land, and more fertile agricultural land is actually being either degraded with excessive use of pesticides or water runoffs, or being converted to urban areas, which means the amount of land available to double this food production is actually decreasing. This is a fundamental challenge because we have to increase and achieve this doubling of food production with even less land available than we used to have before. Water, second challenge, is a fundamental challenge because a lot of our green revolution has been achieved with the excessive use of groundwater, with the result that across Punjab and Haryana, groundwater resources are now depleting to an alarming level. And this is facilitated by the free electricity and diesel that the government makes available to the farmers for very good reasons. The farmers themselves, when you speak with them, they're all aware that this is a short-term solution, that long-term this is going to lead to environmental degradation and water shortages on a dramatic scale. But the typical reaction is, listen, if I don't draw the water, my neighbor is going to draw the water anyway, so I may as well make hay literally when the sun shines. So this whole water usage challenge and the need to shift the cropping patterns away from water-intensive crops to a more balanced usage where you shift to less water intensity combined with a mix of cereals and protein to make farming more sustainable. It's a very important challenge that needs to be addressed. The third thing, sunlight. Well, here's the good news. There's plenty of sunlight around. That's not going to go away. So that's the good news. Fourth challenge, farmers. The world over, the average age of a farmer is 52. So their children do not want to go into farming. They are part of this vast migration into urban areas. Why is this? Because farming is hard work. Farmers are entrepreneurs and they're always exposed to risks of the environment, risk of too little rain, risk of too much rain, risk of bad fertilizer, and risk of market price failure and fluctuations in the cropping patterns. And if the cow has to be milked, it has to be milked at 5 in the morning. Doesn't matter if it's raining or it's snowing or it's too hot, it has to be milked. So you don't have a single weekend off. So it's a hard life. And no wonder their children are moving to urban areas. So where are we going to find the next generation of farmers? It has to become economically attractive, and mechanization has to facilitate the work of farming. And again, this raises a huge opportunity for those of us in this room. The fifth challenge, and probably the most significant challenge we have, is the challenge of the vanishing pollinators. We got married about 35 years ago, and my wife and I, we used to go for walks in Leisure Valley in Chandigarh, and at night you used to see millions of fireflies all around. Jugnu, we call them in Hindi. Today, we go for a walk, I can't see a single firefly. The fireflies are vanishing, the butterflies are vanishing, the honeybees are vanishing. It's not only in India, it's a global trend. And if these vanish, well, that's the end of food production, and that's the end of humanity. Make no mistake. Why are they vanishing? We don't know. But we suspect it has to do with pesticides, which eventually act even on these insects, and it has to do with excessive use of fertilizers and indiscriminate practices in the environment. So it's a challenge that needs to be addressed with urgency. The last challenge, that of sustainability. Sustainability has many dimensions. You have economic sustainability for the farmers, you have environmental sustainability for the land so it doesn't get degraded and you can continue to crop productively on it over generation over generations. And then you have the challenge of sustainability for the environment. In recent times, we have all seen the extensive smog that has enveloped all our towns in North India, Delhi in particular. And a lot of this is coming from the fact that the farmers burn the straw after cropping, and those fires and the smog basically comes to the big cities. Is there a solution? Of course there is a solution. The government has offered solutions, but this costs money. And at the end of the day, the farmer is an entrepreneur. If he does not see an economic return, for him the simple way to get rid of the straw, at the same time get the nutrients back in the soil, is to burn the straw. So we have a role and a responsibility to help provide him the economic incentive to stop burning the straw. Just the use of a big stick is not enough. There has to be a carrot, and it's our role in this room to provide that economic incentive so that the farmers stop burning the straw and our children stop breathing this poisonous air. Now, with all these challenges and these opportunities, what can we do about it? What are the opportunities in front of us? Well, good news, there's a lot we can do about it. The first and low-hanging fruit is one of supply chain inefficiencies. We know that about 30 to 40% of all the food produced in the country is actually wasted even before it reaches the household or the plate. And this is basically because of supply chain inefficiencies, leakages, insect infestation, rodent consumption, and simply degradation of the product. This can be addressed by better supply chain practices, again a huge economic opportunity for all of us. The second thing is the role of innovation and the use of technology to create solutions which enable the farmer as an entrepreneur to use these solutions in a profitable way. Who's going to provide these solutions? Well, it's us again. Yeah. And the third thing is the whole challenge of inclusive growth. We as an industry should not look at growth as something where we make the gains by riding piggyback on the farmer. We have to make sure that the benefits of this economic boom, which is agro-led, is in fact shared equitably with the farmer and the producer, because if he doesn't have an incentive to produce economically, then you won't have farmers left. The children will all go to the cities. So, to summarize, what have I said? I've said, firstly, simple growth in human population and urbanization means food processing in industry is in for boom times over the next 35 years. The second thing I've said is there has to be, within this food processing industry, an increasing focus on nutrient security as opposed to just food security. It's an important concept which I hope will enter the national dialogue now. The third thing I've said is there are fundamental environmental challenges with land, with water, with human capital, with pollinators, and with the environment and sustainability, all of which are demanding innovative technological solutions. And the last thing I've said is all of this represents a huge opportunity for all of us in this room. The world is looking at us, the country is looking at us to provide and be part of the solution for all these challenges while we cater to this incredible and exciting opportunity for growth that exists in front of us. So I wish you all in this room wonderful deliberations, and I look forward to some really good solutions coming from you after this meeting. Thank you.